Hi, and welcome to day 2 of the WindWorks International Harmonic Slur Challenge. Right, today I've actually got a guest coming from Brisbane. He's a student, was on trumpet and had a bike accident. So he's gone on to trombone. His chops were really messed up. So we're working through getting him back playing. He's running a little bit late, but I thought I'd start anyway. So if you didn't see day 1 yesterday, the video is going to be on the page here. It will be there forever. I'm going to put them up on YouTube. Yeah, so you're going to be able to have access to all of these videos as we go. If you missed yesterday, and if you're watching on YouTube, it's the links are below. So in order to be able to use the practice progress charts here, you need to register on the register link that is below. Here is my guest. I'm going to let him in now. Good morning, sir. Lovely. Beautiful. Number 8. See you shortly. Well, I'm live already, so don't panic. Just come on in. All right, bye. Number 8, yeah. Cheers, mate. Okay, so another Greg is coming in, and I'm going to really go into depth about how to use the progress charts. So to get started, of course, we need to do the basics. Finger around. And I'm going to use this challenge myself I use the trombone to facilitate the chop change that I did years ago, because I was just determined on the trumpet to pinch the middle of the lip down and push too hard. And the way to let go of that for me was to recognize the familiarity of using the trombone mouthpiece. There's no strangeness, and I've got no problem with doing a little bit of free buzzing. Good morning. A little bit of free buzzing on the trombone mouthpiece because it's bigger, it's wider, so it suits the human mouth a little bit better. So it enables us to get the sympathetic oscillation of the middle of the lip, where the trumpet mouthpiece for trumpet players might stimulate that pinch in the middle. And what I would do is pick up and trombone, and then I'd recognise on the trumpet, I'd clamp down. It's just hidden back here. It makes us do it. So to unlock that, we use the psychology of strangeness and the feeling of strangeness, and then freedom. And here's an interesting psychological thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Greg Quigly, you may have seen his son Dan. Feel free to move across a little bit. Yeah, this is the first time I've done this with 2 people here. Dan, his son, did a testimonial on WindWorks, and check it out because he's really got it. He's really sorted it out. So just to finish off, I want you to consider this, that when I started making the change by using trombone, if I went to play a high B flat, I'd go into high B flat mode. Where in actual fact, the guys from Chicago Symphony, Arnold Jacobs and Bud Herseth and I think Chickowitz, or whoever was in the section, I'm not sure, not Chickowitz. Who was the other guy? Anyway, I can't think. They did these studies at some hospital, and the velocity of a middle C, the actual frequency of that is the same. Yet psychologically, when I go to play a high B flat, I'd go into high C mode on trumpet, which used to be high C, and everything had tightened, and it's just that psychology of high notes. Anyway, I've digressed from the reason we're here. Thank you, Greg. Greg's driven all the way from Brisbane to be here. We're basically going to do a quick warm-up and then get into the harmonic slur challenge and figure out where we're at. We're going to start off real slow, and slowly develop and find our limits. Now, if you can come up with, g'day Stu, g'day Jeanette, how you going? Good to see you. I need a name for the fastest note that we can do harmonic slur. So, where you can do one beat at tempo, but you can't do two. Because logic says if you can go, you go, and I haven't picked up trombone, but donkeys, that's why I'm doing it. But if you can do one beat, but you can't do two in time, I need a name for that note. For that, if you think of anything. You've got the one beat, but you can't get two. Get creative. Hi, Greg and Greg. Hilarious. Rightio, Greg squared. Let's do it. And I was hoping you were going to bring your lead pipe. So even trombones can use a. So what we've been working on with Greg is getting the middle opening up. Now let's do a down and up, down and up, down and up. And the secret here is to not engage the body when we're changing the pitch. It's just from shape. And take it down as far as we can go. Cool, and there's not a day going to go by in this challenge where I don't demonstrate blowing harder, the psychology of blow harder to play higher. It's not going much higher, and the body's overexerting, where if I don't do that and go, no amount of air pressure, air force is going to allow the higher note to happen. The face must change. Yeah, and it doesn't matter if the note doesn't speak. Doesn't matter if the note doesn't speak. It's about the process of finding shape, cutting the connection. That's what the whole harmonic slur challenge is about. Cutting the connection between changing pitch and overexerting from the body. We're cutting here. So I don't care if that note speaks or not. It's about the process of changing shape in the face without it being triggering the body, kicking from the body. That's the main purpose here. Let's get onto the horn. That's great here. Going to keep him honest today. We didn't have that last week, did we? Nah, right? So some of it could be the horn, some of it could be the shape. Let's go up to a C. Excuse me. Good. All the while thinking, and for as long as we can, passive, air into the lungs, let it go. Now, of course, on trombone, we're going to be using a bit more air as well, but we want to be able to manage where we go from passive and then convert into active throughout the duration of the long note. So what we've been working on, we started last week, is getting, because at the moment, the desire is to push the air to try and get it up into pitch. So at the moment we're getting so to be able to find the shape change to bring it up into pitch, to open up the resonance of the body, requires a shape change, not an exertion from the body. So that's what we're working on with Greg, to get right up there. You can hear the sound is a bit. As long as the process is right, that's all we're concerned about at the moment. Obviously, we need to find the right sound, but I don't want any pinching in the middle of the lip, pushing of the air to bring it up to get this to resonate. We want to keep the body open. Oh, you got away without doing any body's concert hall breaths. But that feeling. Oh, did you? It's an hour and a half from Brisbane, so he's been warming up in the car. Right, so in the process of that same feeling, we want to be able to change here without triggering anything below the neck. It's not required, and I will get ground into the ground like a bug by some people, and I don't care, because the psychology is blow harder to play higher. It's got to change. It's got to change, and eventually we're going to change it. So let's now start on our harmonic slur. So we need to find a D flat. Bit under. Cool. So let's take in turns for a second. Cool. So we're working on, remember. The sound of a brass instrument is oscillation of the air in the pipe. It's not the sound of the lip. It's not that. But we're trained to get the lips in the way and grab them and then push harder to get them to vibrate. This is not the way to go. We need to figure out where the aperture corners are. And again, I'll be showing it every day. So for those of you that are watching every day, I apologize. Aperture corners on the right there. Where the aperture stops, the aperture is the opening. Not the sides of the mouth, not out here. It's the corners of the aperture. When we refine that, figure that out, again, that's what the whole harmonic slur challenge is about. It's about learning breath control and learning shape, refined shape. Now, I talk about it a lot more in day one, so if you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. But finding those aperture corners and figuring out how to tweak them without engaging the middle of the lip. The lips sympathetically oscillate thanks to the change of air pressure from the reducing body, whether it's active or passive, hitting the ambient air pressure of the pipe, and the lip responds to the change of air pressure. Hence the term sympathetic, not synthetic, not pinched, not gripped, not pushed, but sympathetic. And as these 5 weeks go by, I'm going to be doing trombone every second or third day or something. I'm going to really work on my tone, work on intonation, work on getting the technique better. So now we're going to go from now what I noticed before, and any trombone players watching will know this, and I haven't researched it yet, I'm a novice, is that the D flat position on the D flat. Maybe it's just me, so I haven't researched it yet. The D flat to the G flat, it feels like to get them into tune, I need to change the slide a little bit. But I'm not going to say that. This is not a trombone lesson, as you can tell. Rightio, so if we're going to stay in position there and just go from the D flat to the G flat and back again. Cool, so what did you say then? I pushed. You can feel it, yeah. Right? It's a recognition of any engagement here. That's all it is, and Greg's got it because he does a lot of humming, passive, and then engaging. You become familiar with the feeling of engaging, and then you become familiar with the feeling of disengaging. So a recognition of that, it allows you, as you extend in range, to recognize when you're becoming active, and all of a sudden when the active part of the equation goes beyond what it needs to be, and it then forces the chops. We need to be able to disengage and be in control of it, and then engage the body as we get louder. So if I can demonstrate that, I'll breathe out. There's no engagement to get that note. It's all shape. Now, if I take a breath and go passive, I'm not actually sure that I can do this, but let's try it. So that is completely passive. There is not one little grab of the balloon whatsoever. Then as I get louder, the body has to become involved to create the volume, and the aperture needs to become bigger. What happens is if you keep the lips pinched, choke off here, you get back pressure, and everyone knows who's watching this, knows that feeling of back here. We don't want that anywhere in the range. So the harmonic slur challenge is all about figuring out where it starts. And it might be in this low register, and you heard Greg say, I just kicked. We don't need to do that here, and that's what we're on the lookout for. So now what we're going to do is, I've already filled out 60 here, so we're going to go 63, right? All I want at the start, we're only going to do quarter notes. So all I want is, so here's the, cool. So it's a great example here of it's easy to fall into the trap of grab the note with the lips and push the air harder, and everyone does it. If not here, at some stage in the playing. And again, the whole concept here is, if you've got any manipulation in the low register, then it's going to get worse in the middle register and get really bad in the high register. So I want a garden with no seeds of weeds, no weed seeds. We're going to go for absolute purity of process here. So what Greg's doing is finding the shape of the other note, sticking with process, and eventually when the familiarity is there, we'll be able to lock straight in without thinking about it. But at the start, we've got to think about it. We've got to find it. If you're teaching, you've got to make sure when your students are learning this, anyone who teaches primary school or early secondary school kids will know what their kids do to try and do harmonic slurs. And it's all, they push really hard to get to the next one. We've got to stop them from doing that. And I know a massive percentage of band directors in America are teaching, and I'm not singling out America, but we're talking to America now, so no offense. But through the schooling system, the psychology from the teachers is to push the air harder to change the pitch. And that we could get onto YouTube right now and find 1,000 videos by really high reputable, amazing players, beautiful people, beautiful players, telling you to blow faster to play higher. And the psychology of that is killing a high percentage of the brass players across the planet. Am I ranting now? No. So we need to make a change to this psychology and go, right, what stimulates pitch change? The mouth stimulates pitch change. I've got 5 weeks here of the challenge to keep demonstrating it and talking about it. One day when I go to my grave, I might have got 1 or 2 people to start and change the way they think about it. So we don't want to, for the sake of getting the high notes in school, encourage the kids to be pushing. It's not setting them up for a career of satisfaction. I teach most people that are professional players who are killing themselves and hating playing. It's fact, because of the psychology of push. So if I can do anything in my existence, it's to stop people from doing it and encourage our students. If I blow harder on the low B flat, sure, I can force the note to happen because it puts the chops under a stack of pressure, but good luck going up another one. Bad. Where if we go? All right, so I'm going to rant about this. The only reason I've done this whole challenge is so I can sit down in front of anyone who cares to listen, so I can rant about this. Right. All right, so it's all about process. Keep breathing. Right, that's it. You've got to keep sure. Good. Now let's do it with the metronome. I'll let you in on a little secret. Don't tell Greg. That when we started getting a bit faster stuff last week, timing was a little bit. How's your father? All right, here we go. No pressure. Here we go. Nice. Beautiful. So what we do now, great process. We've nailed that, and because we're doing quarter notes, we've actually done 2 beats. So
Can I say something?
Yes, please do.
What I found is to start off is getting the first note and working on releasing the note.
Releasing instead of, no kicking when you do it, just
getting that. And what I found when I got that, the next note came just.
And especially, it's such a great point, because what happens when we start getting into the faster slurs, if I go 16 to a quick tempo, you've got to be able to hit that first note right smack bang in the middle, because you are literally you're changing pitch as soon as you basically the note speaks. As soon as you hit the note, you're out of there. And if we try and kick, consider this. It's like, in fact, have I got it here? No, I don't. In that yellow bag over there, can you grab the ukulele, please? Sorry, Greg. That's all right. It's a better demonstration when I've got my trusty ukulele. And I got given one with the Union Jack. I'm not sure where it was. Anyone from the UK that's watching, go to cricket last night. Any Americans won't know what cricket is generally. It's like baseball, but the English had one of the most historic wins ever last night. 5-day test, and they were awesome, even though the umpire got it wrong and the Aussies should have won, but we won't go into that. Right, so we do not want to strum, put the finger on the string, and try and get it all to happen all at the same time. Right? You'd have the finger set, so you'd have the face preset, and then the release. That's from behind the tongue. Now, please, if you haven't watched Poo Lip Coo KMT and 2, we work on Poo attack, lip, Coo, KMT, tip of the tongue behind the bottom teeth, and regular tip of the tongue from the roof of the mouth. 5 different articulations, and that's not even to mention breath attack, but we don't use a breath attack for the start of the harmonic slur challenge because we need it bang right on the start of the note. So we would never try and put the finger on the string and strum at the same time. You'd always preset the finger and then release. And while I've got the guitar here, the psychology of blow faster to play higher is the same as strum harder to play a higher note on the guitar. I'm going to do, and now I'm going to put it up an octave and hit it really hard. No, You've got to change the finger, right? Slightly different science, but great analogy, because the idea of strum harder is the same as blow harder, and it's killing people everywhere. Rightio. So we've done 2 beats. So now let's go see if we can do 4. No, so just quarters at the moment. Good. That's it. No, it's just the 4. So we're working on just building step by step by step. So any of you that are watching this, no matter what level you are, the whole concept is we're going to go through and figure out what we can do. And then as we get faster and faster and faster, the duration becomes a lot less. That's the whole point. So now we just want to do the 4 and really spot on with the metronome. And I apologized yesterday. Eventually I'll fix the metronome. After about 2 minutes, they're MP3s and I didn't cut them properly before we loaded it into the metronome. So there's a little gap sometimes. I'm sorry. I'll fix it one day. Here we go. Nail the time. Nail the time. Yeah, behind. That's it. So that's our 4 on the last one. So we've ticked that. So now let's go to 8, see if we can get there. Right, beautiful. So we tick that off as well. Beautiful. Now, what we do, if you're watching on the WindWorks page, now this, let me just double check that we're still streaming there. Have a look at that. That's the WindWorks page. I'm very proud of myself about that. Right? So, if you're on the WindWorks page, then you can scroll down and you'll see above the chart there is a clock. Oops, daisy. And we want to watch the clock now because it'd be pointless having 30, 40, 50, 60 beats. That becomes hard. But if you've got a clock on the wall or a clock here, then you can watch it. So now we're going to go for 5 seconds. So I'm going to just watch it, which, well, 5 seconds is going to be less than 8 beats. So let's go for 10 seconds. So when you're ready. So now I can mark 5 seconds and 10 seconds. So they're marked on the chart. So when the whole essence of this is once you find your limit, and at this speed, it's all about breath control. And if you can really recognize, and I'll try and go passive for a while. Passive doesn't last long to keep the sound up, otherwise it's going to disappear. But we're working on breath control at a slow tempo to have the eyes closed to be able to really recognize if the body's starting to jerk at all, or just an awareness of what's going on in the body. That's all it's about. And recognize if the body's concert hall starts, the doors close and it all close for business. So we want to make sure, even when we're out of air completely, I'm right at the end of my breath there, but it's still open. There's no tightening up as the lungs become empty. So we're just on the lookout now. Where is my favorite teaching tool here? The essence of all of my teaching is this. It's a magnifying glass. Where does negative tension creep in? Doesn't matter whether you're a beginner or a 35-year pro. An awareness of where negative tension and manipulation starts, what the triggers are, and how to eliminate it. And it's all based on psychology. There's so much talk about strength and isometrics and all that sort of stuff. Yes, there is strength required to play, but the strength will be developed from just playing, regular playing. You don't need to be macho man to play brass instruments. In fact, the strength that the body has is way too much for what the instrument needs, and it works against us. So I'm trying to pull that all back. Hence the concept of the shrinking balloon, the passive breath, recognizing the openness and resonance and finding out where that gets compromised. So that was great. We did 10 seconds. We'll see if we can get 15. So I'd stop straight away there. I am an absolute perfectionist at this. Zero tolerance for one note being out of time. It has to be nailed in time. Right. Okay, so there's our 15 seconds. Let's go for 20 just for fun. Yep. Okay, so we got to 20. Now, when Greg's at home, he can go and see if we can get to 25, get to 30. So now, let's go up. If you're practicing at home and it's day one, go through and say, do every second tempo, right? Unless you want to do them all, but it'll take a while. If you're right up for the challenge, do all of them. Day one's the tough one because you're going through all the way until you can find that one beat, the golden beat, whatever we're going to call it, right? So go through, we just did 63, so we could do 66 and go for as long as you can, 69 for as long as you can, 72 for as long as you can, so on and so forth. But we're going to jump ahead now to 104. So change the metronome, and we're just going to do the 2 beats, right? Oh, it's going to be faster. Yeah. That's it. Good. So 104, and we click beats 1 and 2, and now to 4 beats. Good. 8 beats. Right. So let's do 10 seconds. Okay, so I was gonna let 1 go where it didn't quite hit in time, but 2's like, and this is just the way I do it myself. Zero tolerance for it not locking, because it means if it's not locking, we're not in control. So we're only going to tick off things that we're in control of. So we're going to get right off. Do-yi. So there's 10 seconds. So 15. So at any stage through that, we've constantly got the magnifying glass out. Now, believe it or not, I mean, most people that come to Windworks and Mystery to Mastery are 35 years plus, because generally younger people, they've got it all sorted out. They don't need to worry about this stuff. They can play, they sound great, and they use as much force as they need to get it done. I was one of them, you know. It's not so it's not until we get to further down in life, we've experienced more, and you're starting to recognise that the all pressure, all strength system is not possibly the best way to go. So that's what we're encouraging here is, even if you're a pro, you're starting to, if you haven't done the Largo Status stage yet to get to these concepts, you need to go through it all. When you recognize sympathetic oscillation, body resonance, all of these things, and then you start changing pitch even slowly, you're going to be more aware of the subconscious triggers to force the air. And so many people, so many people, I'm just laughing because and people think I'm saying it as a sales thing. Some of the players that I've spoken to, and they don't want their names mentioned, they're pro players, and they're working, touring the world, but so unhappy they want to give their horns away. Seriously, they've got the best job in the world and hating it. No satisfaction. That's what it's about. They recognise that from one pitch to another, even in a low register, there's a jerk. If there's a kick there, what's going to happen in the middle register and the high register? And I can't emphasise it enough. So we need to recognise any neural kind of synapses-y kind of trigger, any body trigger based on the suggestion of a high note. Please do the singing C exercises. It's all about that. Changing pitch, tonguing and harmonic slurs, passive and active, to figure out what part of the body is working automatically out of our control, and then what part we're consciously controlling. Ideally, eventually, none of it's conscious control. It's all based on the sound that we hear. But for unlocking negative tension, that's not going to cut it. If you're focused on sound quality, the intention of your playing is we've got to make it sound good. If you try and make it sound good at the start, you're going to compromise pure process and manipulate, which is, opposite of what we want. I'd prefer it to sound average, but the process to be correct. I've got a line. I don't care if it sounds good. I want it to be right. And that, to a lot of people, would sound like anti-teaching. It's all about the sound. Well, I'm sorry. It is all about the sound, but in the process of trying to find the best sound, a lot of people kill themselves and end up throwing their trumpets on train lines and under trucks. So it's about process, and sound will come. So we're going to make sure we know what we're working on. Let's go. We got 15 seconds there. Let's speed it up a little bit now. So again, Greg in his own time can get home and go 20 seconds, but we're going to go up to 160 now. Right. So we're really jumping ahead. So all I want is do-i-o. Just the do-i-o.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay, and on that point, sorry, Greg. On that point, I'm doing it to demonstrate here today, but at home, the idea, of course, is go for as far as you think you can on any tempo. You don't have to go 1 beat, 2 beats, 4 beats, 8 beats. If you are guaranteed that you're totally on the money. But if there's any dispute at all, and it's an honesty system within ourselves, there's no point kidding yourself. Just be real with what you're capable of. Then we've got to look out. I can do 2 beats, 4 beats, but by 8 beats I start and tighten. That's where you need to stop and do it beat by bit. But for the purpose of today, we're doing each one. So let's do it again to make sure we've got do-i-o. That's just a little bit. That's better. Good. Okay. So that's, what are we on? 160. So I'll click 1 and 2. Yeah. So let's go for 4 now. Yeah. So I'm happy to tick that. So we've done 4. Now let's go for 8. Good. Is that it? Right. All right, so that was 5 seconds. Let's go for 10 seconds. So seconds, 20 seconds, and figure out if the body starts to, choke up and compromise as we get faster. Right, now let's get serious now. Let's go down to 208. Yeah, a little bit. So just 1, 2, 3. Good. Beautiful. Righto, now for 3, 4. Good. Beautiful. Good. That's fantastic. So again, we go through as far as we can. So that's a 208. So if we cut that in half, 104, then, of course, we've done 104 here. We go into eighth notes, into quavers. So we're going to lift it up a little bit. We're going to go to 108, but we're going to do quavers. Now remember, hey, yeah, I know. Well, it is American time, so it's eighth notes now. Exactly. And when I launched book 2, I had actually it was a Canadian guy, interestingly. Goes, Greg, I'll get you to consider that people talk about it's a whole notes and half notes and quarter notes and sixteenths and stuff. That's the way the world works. And I said, have you heard of Europe? With a smile. Right, England, Australia. So we call it crotchets and quavers, whatever. Yes, but quarter notes, half notes. So we're going to do quarter notes here. We're doing eighth notes. Yeah. And all I want is one beat. So this is where we get really precise. Good, so that's nailed. Let's go up to 2 beats. Good. I'll give you that. Let's go 4 beats. Really slow. Good. Good. 8. All behind from the start. Yeah, good. So let's go, and again, that's equal to 5 seconds. So let's go for 10 seconds. Okay, so we tick that off, and we get 15. Again, so far that's all pretty much in control. So let's take it right down. We're going to go 168. 1 beat. Good. Good. Let's go for 2. Good. Good. I'll play that. So up to 8. Yeah, that was spot on. It's just back behind the beat. So there is a great example there of it being in time. Then as we go through, we start and it pulls back because we're having to think about it and we've got to actively, consciously try and stay on time. This is what we're looking for. So if it starts to pull back, you don't tick the box. It's really simple. And if at any stage, turns into right? Again, that's what we're looking for. Right, yeah. So let's go now. I'd give you 4 beats, but 8 was, and anything longer than that was a bit dubious. So let's go. We're going to go up to 184, and let's see what happens here. Just 1 beat. Good. 2 beats. That was okay. Let's start right. So let's stick with the two. I really want to get. Here's my trombone chops on display, folks. Got to start right on the beat. That was it. Now 4. We don't start right on. We're going to be out. Not bad. Alright, so the 4 beats there is becoming slightly problematic, where we want to be able to just keep everything calm. It doesn't matter that the speed is getting faster, because it's just a change in the mouth. So why does a change in the mouth trigger the body to start to panic and the breath to get short and everything tight and push? Where it's just, this is the big question. It does happen. Why it happens doesn't matter. The fact is that it does happen, and it doesn't need to happen. So let's get really wild and crazy now. We'll go up to 208 and just get 1 beat. See if we can nail 1 beat. Good. 2 beats. Got to start right on. So just stick with the 2. So take a break. Got to start right on. Okay, so you can tell that I'm really pedantic if it's not da-dee-da-dee-da. Now, I don't play trombone. This is the whole point of me doing this, is by the end of 5 weeks, I will be able to look back. I haven't said it today. At the end of week 1, you take a screenshot, and then we're going to put it in a folder and hide it. Or if you're using the pen and paper one, that's at the page at the WinWorks, you know, the Mystery Mastery / wihsc page, you can print them out and use pen. Some people like using pen and paper still, and that's cool. So we fill out our first week's chart, put it in an envelope, and in 5 weeks' time, and I know I will, especially on these, I'm still trying to find the shape, especially being a trumpet player. I keep overshooting. I keep going up. I keep wanting to get higher, so I've got to control and find the shape, keeping everything cool, and eventually I'll be able to hold it for longer, and it will improve over the 5-week period. So that's exactly what we're doing. I'm not giving you the 4 beats then. I'm a tyrant, but you're right. So 208, if we divide that in half and go into 16ths. So let's try and see if we can get 1 beat of 16ths. So I'm giving you a second chance at it here. Doi, oi, yod. Doi, oi, yod. Okay, so because the first note, you can hear it. The first note's not getting away fast enough. It almost sounds like it's swinging, da-dee-da-dee-da, because we're not getting that. As soon as that note speaks. tick that, but it's already ticked for eighth notes and quarter notes now, so I won't bother, but you get the point. So now we've got 1 beat. Can we do 2 beats? So, okay, so notice instantly, this is what we're looking for. The first beat is fine. Logic says we can do 1 beat, we can do 2. Yet, when we start getting up to our upper limit, getting that 2 beats is really problematic. We want to be able to keep the air, keeping constable open for parties, and no kick. At this stage, at the start of the note, it's passive. There is no engagement from below the neck. I don't care what anyone says or what instrument you're playing. You can get air into the lungs, even on a tuba playing a pedal tone. That initial release is a movement of the tongue. Then, of course, to sustain sound and volume throughout the exercise, the body becomes involved. But the initial release is passive. All right? Now, you did 1 beat, but let's go for 2. Let's see if we can nail 2. Okay, so even Greg's nailing beat 3, daddle, 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 dum, but it's not even throughout. So me being Mr. Hard Taskmaster would not flick that. If it was myself, I'm practicing it, I will not flick the box until I'm 100% happy with it. So because the 16ths are now getting challenging, we're looking for that point where we can do 1 beat, we can nail it. What tempo can we do 1 beat? What tempo can we not do 1 beat? Right? So that's the real edge. So if we go up to 120, let's just see what happens here. Oh, sorry, hang on. So metronome to 120. Okay, so I won't give those. Greg will work on that at home, obviously, and go, I know it's just the trigger of the note here. So 120 is not there yet. So if we go back to 116. Okay, so what a good thing to do here is can you grab, here we are. If we can experience the feeling of the exercise without actually doing it. Even close your eyes. Okay, so there's the feeling of it. So if we can train the body the feeling of it, and then we add the instrument, it'll be really obvious when the instrument starts triggering us to kick, tighten, push, whatever. But the feeling of all we're doing is impacting the air in the pipe. We're not blowing through it. Remember that? I'm going to turn this into a science project today. Do the course. We're energizing the air that's already in the pipe. We're not blowing through it. Not much of the air goes through. So imagine you've got what's it? I've got to say tambourine, a timpani. Boom, rebound. Okay, cool. So you can tell there that it's just but that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? Let's try 112. Oi, oi, oi. 112. And so what he would do, starting from scratch, is you could even start at 60, but do 16ths from the start. We wouldn't have to worry about quarter notes or I'll just turn that on to silent. I wouldn't worry about eighth notes and quarter notes because he's in control of those. I think, well, let's see. Let's go back to 60 and do 16ths and just make sure that we're completely comfortable. Dotty, dotty, dom. And really, I was behind there. Dotty, dotty, dom. That's a bit too slow. Dotty, dotty, dom. You're getting off to a bit of a head start. Okay, cool. So it's tricky to do, right? Because and a great exercise for that is get a pen and tap your metronome and see if you can get it to have no paradiddle, no flam, you know, no but ups. But you see at 60, because there's such a long gap between the clicks, pretty tricky to do. So in that case, doing eighth notes at a faster tempo is probably a good idea. And then we're searching through for where it all breaks down. It's as simple as that. So we're on the lookout for the long tones. We can go, I don't know on trombone how long I can go for. So if I go, put 60, and I'll do eighth notes. So I can't even give myself that because zero tolerance for missing. I've got no idea how long that was. And so it'd be really fun for me to be sitting at home practicing, watching the clock and going, was it 10 seconds? Was it 15 seconds? How long can I go for it? I know there was a couple of little glitches there. So if I was practicing on my own, I wouldn't stop. Zero tolerance for nonsense. And then go through. And then on trumpet, I can do 8 beats at 208, but can't go any more than that. If I go to 208 here, so this is my own experimentation here. So I don't think I'll be able to do 1 beat. Oh, that was all right. Then we get 2. That's pretty good. See if I get 4. Right? I'll be able to get there. So by the end of the 5-week challenge, next week we go up another semitone, next week we go up another semitone. By the end of 5 weeks, I'll look back and go, in the first week I could only do 2 beats or 4 beats, 16 to 208. By the end of 5 weeks, hopefully I can do it faster. Why is it important? Because if process is pure, then it's going to give you a better awareness of shape, a better awareness and control of airflow, more efficiency, better flexibility. To encourage, playing all over the range of your instrument, you need control of airflow, you need to eliminate any push, any pinch, any choke, and harmonic slurs are the best way to do it. And you will find when you're practicing that you will get to that limit where if you've got your eyes closed, magnifying glass, if you're really switched on, you will recognize where you start to compromise the process on the smallest little bit. If you eliminate that, then you'll be able to get through your range so much easier. Your endurance is going to be better because you're more efficient. Sound's going to open up because you've got better aperture control. It's bonus plus. That's for harmonic slurs. If there's any questions or any closing comments by Greg here, now is the time. Thank you for dropping in and watching. I've got anything I need to see down here. No? So if there's any questions, feel free to ask. Any comments or thoughts?
Something I discovered after last week was the actual release and keeping what is the tongue supposed to do.
Right.
So I'll just,
I
started off at low B flat, of course.
Right.
I could do that.
No, well, I mean, we had a lesson last week, and that's when Greg said, I'll come up and do this week. And we didn't do any harmonic slurs last week, apart from right at the end. We're building. Greg had a bike accident and destroyed his chops. He's a great trumpet player. So we're building it all back up on trombone and enjoying the process.
Oh, yeah.
And the parallels between trumpet and trombone, it's all the same stuff, isn't it? It doesn't matter the instrument. So right, you freed the tongue up, so it's like keeping everything cool here.
If that didn't work, I knew, and then I started to feel really down there.
Right, yeah.
And so then I got that concept of what you were saying. Now
it stays open, right?
Stays open.
Yeah.
So then I go to F, to B flat, and I'll try all notes, just with letting the tongue. It's like a concept of letting the tongue flat.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And then you'll find so easily going up where the body goes, oh, we're getting into a high note now, we need to start and panic and, everything. That
allows me to concentrate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Then we can change that. And even practicing the way you're doing it there, the whole concept of the windwork secret, the stuff that we can do away from the practice room to teach the psychology what it needs to do. It's almost more important than the time on the horn in the practice room. If you can, you're practicing pitch change. So there's a sort of high F squeaking out there, but there's no volume. It's not wrong because I'm not engaging at all. But being able to keep that tongue moving as you're doing it keeps the concert hall open for business. There's less air flows through the horn as we get higher, so stop trying to push it. There needs to be support on open notes. As you get louder on longer notes with an open aperture, the body needs to support more. But in the process of doing that, we lock up here because the shape isn't right and the air's forced. It's actually a really simple system. And if you haven't watched day one, please go and watch it because I talk a lot about the techniques involved and how it all ties into the harmonic slur. I'm not going to go through it every day for the next 5 weeks. I'll drive regular watch. It's crazy. But get your tuning, your practice progress chart, print it out or use the one on the page. Now, if you haven't signed up and done the Largo stage and you're filling out the chart, if you open the window tomorrow, your progress won't be saved because your system won't know to save it under your membership. So the Largo thing, it's free, but you need to register to allow the charts to work. Otherwise, you'll go, what was I up to yesterday? Open the window and your progress will be gone, which defeats the purpose of the process in the first place. Hey, that's great. We're right on a minute, so an hour. So I think that's a good time to finish up. Greg Quigly, say hello to Dan, your son.
Hi, Dan.
And I'll see you tomorrow. So it'll be Australian Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night at 7 p.m. I might do some cornet tomorrow night. And I'm going to go on to C trumpet. Another thing, I can't play C trumpet. I can get a sound out of it, but I'd never do it in public. So I want to work on my C trumpet as well, and even some piccolo at times. So there's no limit to what we can work on. Daily practice looking at these things will be of great benefit to you. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. West Eastern Australian Standard Time, which is about between 2 and 5 a.m. I think in America. So if you're up for the challenge, let's go nuts in the middle of the night. Thank you. Ciao. Thanks, Greg.